on the Rubin Report. Pimp out the merch store.
Very low-rated anchor.
I hate America.
Stock market too?
Yeah, literally out of like Naked Gun. I told you, I want only references from 1989 to 1992.
Humankind.
Katy Perry is like, doop, 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 doop. Hey! 2 girls, 1 cup, it doesn't matter. Just send them up there and see what happens. All right, people, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is April 16th, 2025. I hope you paid your taxes yesterday, or at least you're on the run safely in the middle of nowhere, completely disconnected from everything because they're coming for you. They want more of your cash, people. As always, we are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. Post-game show immediately after the show, rubinreport.locals.com. And today's show is really an extension of yesterday. There's just a lot going on in the world. Let's just dive right in and catch you up quickly on one thing, because it's being, I would say, severely underreported by the mainstream media. But somebody did try to kill the governor of Pennsylvania on Passover. Here from Jake Tapper. This is from Penn Live. Police warrant says arsonist targeted Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro for what he wants to do to the Palestinian people. Marina Medvin, who's a good follow on Twitter, she's an attorney from Virginia, she wrote this: the Marxist psycho who torched the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania did it to save Palestine and out of spite for the governor's Jewish faith. Police say they have video of him scaling the security fence surrounding the residence, using a hammer to break windows and climbing inside to throw Molotov cocktails and start a fire. In a warrant for his devices signed Tuesday, police say the motive for the attack was perceived injustices to the people of Palestine, as well as Governor Shapiro's Jewish faith. The attack took place on Passover. Police found Che Guevara stickers in his property. So, yeah, this kind of gets to what we were talking about yesterday, guys. The crazier the left goes. That line that I always tell you, that Jordan Peterson has been asking for years, when does the left go too far? If no one on the left is willing to say, I don't know, burning down a governor's mansion while his family sleeps inside on a holy day, bit much. Firebombing a Tesla supercharger station, bit much. Etching swastikas into random people's cars, bit much, et cetera, then we will just see more and more of this. So we'll leave that story there. But the real question, I think, honestly, is how many more of these people are out there? And I think there's an awful lot of broken brain people, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. I am going to start with a clip, though, today that is so mind-blowing that your computer might explode right in front of you right now. If you're on a computer, handheld device, whatever it might be, it might literally spontaneously combust. Because Whoopi Goldberg, now generally what's happening with people on Ozempic is they get thin very quickly. As far as I know, it has nothing to do with resetting their brain, but something might be happening to Whoopi as she has gone from sort of Jabba the Hutt Whoopi back to 1980s Whoopi. Something might be clicking in her brain. Again, I don't know. I'm not a scientician or anything like that. I cannot comment on the effects of Ozempic on the brain. That's for other people to figure out. But Whoopi said something sane on The View yesterday. Not only something sane as it pertains to the Department of Education and what Donald Trump is doing, but something that I have repeatedly said on this show probably 1,000 times. And she almost said it as if she's been listening to the show and they just handed her the script. And of course, as she said it, then they had to play her out to commercial. But watch this.
Like, they're trying to take apart the Department of Education.
Yes.
Maybe that is a good thing, because maybe it will force us to make sure that our kids actually get what they need. Maybe it'll force us to go to our state and say, listen, I want to make sure, since you're taking all this money from my taxes, I want to make sure that my kids get exactly what they need. I don't have to wait for the government to do it. We can do it. This is now in our hands. This is in our hands, and it's going to be tough, and nobody wants to do it because it's a bitch. But you know what? If it comes down to your survival, this is what you got to do. You got to take care of what you got to take care of. And they're telling me that we're going to be right back.
Play that crazy bitch out to commercial ASAP. She's making too much sense. I mean, where did that come from? Whoopi Goldberg just basically became a Trump supporter, at least as it pertains to getting rid of the Department of Education, as at least it pertains to sending it back to the states, at least as it pertains to maybe school choice and understanding that public schools are not doing a good job of education? Did she just magically come up with this idea? And later on, go rewind that and look at the way they're all staring her like, what the F are you talking about, lady? Like, that's completely counter to everything that show has talked about as it relates to education, whether they're putting on Randy Weingarten from the teachers union or any of the Democrats that think if you destroy the Department of Ed that suddenly you're just going to have a bunch of stupid kids. We have the Department of Ed, or we've had it, and we have a bunch of stupid kids already. So I don't know what, again, I don't know if it was the Ozempic, I don't know if the weed really kicked in before the show, whatever it was, Whoopi, you got to keep rolling with that. That is good stuff right there. I would also say, before we show you another clip of Whoopi sort of going back to her old Whoopi self, I would also say, I think perhaps, I don't know this for a fact, but I think that this has something to do with what Bill Maher did the other day. The system is kind of rejiggering right now, right? Like, they're realizing, I think people who have been somewhat mainstream, say a Bill Maher and a Whoopi and others, they're realizing that being radically anti-Trump as things get better, as the border gets better, as education gets better, as our trade deals get better, et cetera, it makes you seem crazy to be against him. So there's sort of a self-preservation thing that's going on there too. And it would not surprise me if we see more and more of this out of someone like Whoopi. Now with Bill, I think it's actually authentic, right? We talked a lot about that over the last couple of days, obviously, because he's a guy who Trump and him have been fighting forever. And like, he went there and he's just telling you what he saw. Whoopi, I don't know. I don't know what's in Whoopi's heart. I don't know what's in Bill's heart, but I do know Bill a little bit more. But something weird is going on over there. Anyway, then she kind of reverted back to her old self, and she does want more of your money for the system that she doesn't think works.
You know, a 90-day pause doesn't mean anything to anyone, because people are, as you say, struggling with everything they're living with on a day-to-day basis. Now you know what we're fighting against. But I also believe that it's very important to remind people that now is the time for each and every one of us to suck it up and make sure that we know what we need to take care of. If you're in an area where the school district is losing, then you got to pay a little more taxes and you got to help the schools out. If you're finding that your libraries are falling apart, you have to give more.
Okay, so you can see she's still a little muddled there. I don't know. She's talking about the 90-day pause as it pertains to the tariffs, obviously. She's talking about everyone struggling right now. Are people struggling more right now than they were struggling under the 4 years of Obama? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yes, the market is down a little bit. It was down a lot, then it really rebounded, and it's still down a little bit. That's true in the midst of this 90-day, as I said, rejiggering of the economy. That is absolutely true. But then suddenly what she connects that with is, oh, and if you live in a place with rough schools, you got to pay more taxes, as if this is what they do with everything, just throwing money at things. And it's not just throwing money at things, because if you want to just throw money at things, Whoopi, you don't need to pay taxes to do it. We checked, Whoopi's worth about 30 mil. I don't begrudge her any of that money, right? That's your cash, Whoopi. I want you to do what you want to do with it, whether it's the Ozempic or the weed or the hair braids. Go to town, lady. That's your God-given right to do what you want to do. But somehow you think that you have to have the government force you to give the money to the schools or the libraries? I don't know where you live. I assume somewhere outside of New York City. If the library's struggling in your community, can't you just throw them a little cash? Get the Whoopi Goldberg wing. What kind of books would be in the Whoopi wing of the library? That's a good question. Anyway, I think there's something interesting there. These people, I'm telling you guys, the system, just watch the mainstream system as Trump continues to fix things. And as we continue to get in a better position as a country and as a culture, you're going to see the very same people who had everything to do with destroying all the goodness, pretending they had nothing to do with it, and rarely giving Trump the credit, right? Because she should have ended that sentence on the previous clip before they cut to break. She should have been like, and thank you, Donald Trump, for making this part of your agenda, because boy, we never would have done it otherwise. But don't hold your breath on that one. Let's talk about Rumble Premium for a minute. And then they brought back that old man who was pretending to be president. I'm shocked.
Free speech is under attack, but Rumble refuses to back down. We've always believed in empowering voices no matter how unpopular, and now we're taking that fight to the next level. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their backs, claiming Rumble had a right-wing culture. But we're not here to fit a mold, we're here to defend free expression. To strengthen this mission, we're excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from creators like Russell Brand, Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, and the Mug Club with Crowder. It's more than a subscription. It's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using promo code Rubin. Visit rumble.com/premium/Rubin and claim your discount today. Together, we can turn the tide. Whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching, your support helps keep free speech alive.
All right, so you guys remember Joe Biden. He was the man pretending to be president for the last 4 years. He was the man that was going to run for president again, and then a cadre of Democrats basically pushed him out of office, and then he pretty much admitted that on The View a couple months back. Remember that guy? And he was muddling and mumbling through everything, and he'd wander off into the forest, and he always telling us that half the country was racist, and then corn pop and a kid rubbed his legs, and that's how he learned about roaches. You remember that guy? You remember that guy? Wish we had more of that guy. Well, they brought him back. Now, I do want to say, before I show you this clip, that when Biden stepped away, I said we would see him. I think I said it that day. We're going to see him publicly 2 to 3 more times. Now, I don't mean when he's just going to get ice cream and they see him, you see a little iPhone video of him. But I mean in a public sense, I think you're only going to see him 2 or 3 more times. So this is number 1. We are now seeing him really for the first time in a suit, giving a speech. And yes, you can guess it went just about as well as you would have expected.
Thank you. So good to be here. Shotgun shack to the Superdome. Who deserve help and pay.
Like, you can't, if we were writing it, it wouldn't be any better than that. Here's some highlights. He talks about knowing black people when he was young. Of course, he grew up in Scranton. Pretty sure he worked at Dunder Mifflin, Division, Dignity, all that stuff.
Pulling into the parking lot. And I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time and I was only going in 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. They never turned right to go to Claymont High School. I wondered why. Asked my mom. The quote is, "Move fast, break things." Well, they're certainly breaking things. They're shooting first and aiming later. As a result, the result is a lot of needless pain and sleepless nights. It's about dignity. Simple dignity. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of their economic situation, regardless of who they are. It's never been this divided. Granted, it's roughly 30%, but it's a 30% that has no heart.
I mean, that line right there. So, okay, let's put aside the stammering and the slurring and that stuff, and that his emotions are not regulated properly. That's all part of whatever his condition is. That thing at the end, we've never been more divided. So are you implying that we're more divided right this moment than we were for the 4 years under you? Like when you gave that Palpatine speech talking about all the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis, remember that one with the black and red background? Like, is that what you're saying, that we're more divided right now? And then to say it's only 30% of the people, first off, and then that 30% of the people have no heart. 30% of your co-citizens have no heart. Well, what are they, zombies? Like, are we gonna then shoot them in the head? Like, what are you saying? And it's not just what he's saying. What was the thought process? Why did they decide to roll him out right now? I think the answer is that they are so befuddled. We'll have many more examples of this throughout the show, and we've been showing you these polls. The Democrats are so screwed right now. They are so wildly out of control. Look, just their inability to condemn, burning down the Pennsylvania governor's house. Like, they are so out of control right now that they just figured, we'll just throw the old guy back in for a second. Maybe it buys us a little time. But when Joe Biden talks about racism, right, the 30% that have no heart, the implication is they're the racists, right? They're the deplorables, they're the rest of it. And, he saw a colored kid when he was young, and as if he remembers when he was in 4th grade. Like, it's just such nonsense. It only took about 2 seconds to find this clip from 2008 when Joe Biden was running for president against Barack Obama, and he was accused of racism.
The latest Democrat to join the race for president spent his first day explaining what he really meant to say. Senator Joe Biden claims he's the best prepared candidate to be president. He was totally unprepared for the reaction when he made a remark about rival candidate Barack Obama, which many interpreted as a knock on other African Americans.
The first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and nice looking guy. To the best of my knowledge.
Biden has apologized for the remark. He says by clean, he meant fresh, new, smart, and insightful.
Oh, yeah, the first black guy who was kind of clean and mainstream and spoke like that. Yeah, that was 2008. Did he never watch The Cosby Show? What do you think Heathcliff Huxtable was doing? He was an OBGYN. He was married to Claire Huxtable. She was a successful lawyer. They lived in Brooklyn Heights. They had they had 4 kids, and then they brought in at the end, when the show was really going off the rails, they bring in cousin what's-her-name, and then whatever. But like, was he not clean cut enough for you? Theo! Bake me the chocolate cake. But Barack Obama's, he wore a nice suit, had nice teeth, spoke well. Not a good dude, but okay. Here's a little compilation of Biden referring to black people as boy.
Are you going to apologize? Like Cory Booker
apologize for what?
Cory Booker's called for it.
Cory should apologize. He knows better.
You got a hell of a new governor in Westmore, I tell you. He's the real deal, and the boy looks like he can still play. He got some guns on him. LLJ Cool J. By the way, that man's got biceps bigger than my thighs. I think he's been with my senior advisor and boy who knows Louisiana very, very well, man, and New Orleans, and Cedric Richmond. You want to come and make a speech? Hush up, boy.
Good God, how are we subjected to that? Like, we all lived through that. Years from now, you're going to all tell your children, I lived through that. It was completely farcical, nonsensical. We all knew it wasn't real. It was fake. He was not running the country, and we all just went along with it. But yes, he refers to black people as boy. That's what he does. We don't have to talk about him too much. I do want to show you a bit of a contrast from that befuddled old man who they threw out there for what reason, I'm not totally sure, other than to kind of, as I said, give a little bit of a distraction from the sheer lunacy of the Democrat Party. Donald Trump, who is not only doing a great job, but he's doing all these press conferences. They're interviewing him in the White House. They're interviewing him on Air Force One. Like, he's just out there all the time. He did an interview yesterday, and I thought this line, as it pertained to the border, was just absolutely perfect.
The border is very, very secure right now. And we didn't need legislation. We needed a president to say, that's it, no more people coming.
That's it. We didn't need a legislation. We needed a president. And we didn't have a president. No one knew who was in charge. And we could blame Mayorkas, and we could blame Kamala for being the border czar, and we could blame Biden, but he wasn't in charge either. And they told us, remember, that month-long period where we needed a bipartisan piece of legislation to close the border, and no, we didn't. We had all of the tools to do it. It's one of the few things that the president of the United States is able to do unilaterally, and that's why Trump did it the first time around, and that's why Biden, I think he reversed, I think it was 67 executive actions as it pertained to the border on day one, and we got the 15-ish million illegals that came into the country that now Trump is cleaning up. So we did not need a bipartisan bill. We needed a president, and hallelujah, we got a president. And by the way, we got that president just in time because, yeah, the Democrats completely are going off the rails right now. And as we covered yesterday, this story of the illegal El Salvadorian gang member who has now been sent back to El Salvador, well, you're never going to believe who the Democrats are supporting. It's the illegal El Salvadorian gang member who is sent back to El Salvador. Let's talk about CB Distillery, and then we'll get to that.
If CBD isn't part of your wellness routine yet, now's time to change that. It's CBD Awareness Month, and CB Distillery is going all out with a massive sale so you can save up to 60% off everything. That includes their #1 best-selling relief stick for post-workout pain and their sleep gummies, which you guys rave about. And it's all up to 60% off when you use code RUMBLE. This premium quality CBD, nothing artificial, no fillers, just clean plant-based solutions that work. You don't want to miss this discount. It's the perfect time to start getting going with CBD and stock up. Just go to cbdistillery.com and use my promo code RUMBLE. That's cbdistillery.com, code RUMBLE, cbdistillery.com.
All right, so an illegal El Salvadorian criminal gang member was picked up in Maryland and sent back to El Salvador. This has the Democrats freaking out because, as I always say, it's a constant shell game with them. They will always point you to things that don't matter while they obfuscate the things that actually matter, and they will always protect the bad guys while going after the good guys. Karoline Leavitt, who is the White House spokesperson, she has just about had enough of these people, and she brought some receipts.
The Democrat and media outrage over the deportation of Ábrego García, an MS-13 El Salvadorian illegal alien criminal who is hiding in Maryland, has been nothing short of despicable. Based on the sensationalism of many of the people in this room, you would think we deported a candidate for Father of the Year. That's because, unfortunately, many in this country care more about this quote-unquote Maryland father, a legal alien MS-13 gang member, than a Maryland mother and an American citizen who was brutally murdered at the hands of a different illegal alien. Of course, I am referring to Rachel Morin. And if you didn't see, yesterday, a Maryland jury found illegal alien Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez guilty of murdering Rachel Morin in August of 2023. She was a 37-year-old mother of 5 who was jogging in an otherwise safe community northeast of Baltimore when this monster ambushed, strangled, and beat her to death before stuffing her brutalized body in a tunnel drain. The Morin family finally got justice yesterday, but they will never get Rachel back. Our hearts go out to Rachel's family, her 5 children, and her mother, Patty, who has suffered the unimaginable loss of her daughter.
She's really good. She usually does it off the top of her head, but seeing her read that so she could really nail it, I think drives home the point. No one is debating whether this guy was an illegal El Salvadorian immigrant. He was illegal. That means you're breaking the law. There is some debate as to what level of gang membership he had. But either way, he was illegal. So we sent him back to the place that he came from. We didn't send him back to a third country. We didn't send him to Russia. We sent him to El Salvador, from whence he came. Now, of course, the Democrats, who, as Carolyn points out, they are never concerned about the, say, Laken Rileys or the beautiful young girl you saw right there. They're never concerned about the people that the illegals kill or the drugs they bring in or the crime or the mayhem or anything else. They're always concerned about the bad guys who got here in the first place. And this is the most ridiculous. We have a couple videos of this guy. This is Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen. Now, he is a senator from Maryland. That means people who are legal citizens of Maryland vote for him to represent them in the Senate. He apparently is much more concerned with representing an illegal criminal alien from El Salvador, and he's going to go to El Salvador to see if he can release the illegal criminal alien from El Salvador. Am I making the point? I think I made the point.
I saw the comments of President Bukele, and I look forward to meeting with him. I've requested to meet with him. I reached out to the ambassador here to ask to meet while he's here. But I've also made clear if we can't meet here, I do intend to go to El Salvador to discuss the release of this individual who is illegally detained. A Maryland man who's the father of 3 in a notorious prison in El Salvador. And I believe the president of El Salvador will recognize why it's important to allow him to return to the United States of America. I will say the president of El Salvador should not now take it upon himself to say that he is detaining him for one more day, because that is kidnapping.
The president of El Salvador should not take back an illegal criminal alien from El Salvador. You almost had it right there, Chris, because you said illegal, But then, of course, what you said was illegal, was Trump getting the illegal guy out. If you had just moved illegal later into the sentence, you might have got it right, which is that the guy was here illegally. So what do you want? This is exactly what Bukele said yesterday in the Oval Office. So what are you saying? Okay, so the guy, illegal from El Salvador, comes to America, lives doing his life. He's gang member, probably not doing good things. Doesn't matter if a couple people like him. He's illegal either way, regardless of the level of gang membership that he has. He's doing illegal stuff. You can't do that here in America. We then send him back to his country. He is illegal in our country. We send him back to his country. And now you, as a representative of our country, I really need little figurines to do this with. Can you run inside and grab some Transformers or something? And then you want to go to his country, where he is from, where he's a legal citizen of his country, and you want to take him out of his country, where he is a legal citizen, bring him back to our country, where he's an illegal citizen, and that makes you the good guy? You fucking moron? Here's more from this guy.
Chris, you laid out the stakes very clearly, both for the country in terms of the Trump attack on freedom and in the case of Kilmar, who is Exhibit A of a bully trying to start by picking on the most vulnerable. So I promised that his wife and his family that I would do everything I could 24/7 to try to bring him home. And that's why I am going to El Salvador.
What are you talking about? His home is El Salvador. You're trying to kidnap a man from the country of his origin and bring him back illegally to America. So let's say you do that. He's here in America. He goes to El Salvador. Do we have something here? Can I do it here? Okay. Here we go. Thank you. Joseph got me a couple of the kids' toys from the other room. So here is, and we have a giraffe. Okay. Let's just say the giraffe is his pet. Okay, so here is the illegal gang member from El Salvador, and here he is in America, and here's America over here. He's here in America, and he's doing some bad things. Actually, something a gang member might do, might behead a giraffe. So now the giraffe is dead, he's here in America, right? And now we say, oh, you're from another country, you're not here legally, you have to go back to your country. So we send him back to his country, and I'm going to editorialize a little bit. He takes his friend with him, his other gang member friend. I don't know if there's any evidence of that. But now the two of them are back there, and they're back home where they were born and where they are citizens. Then, this is Van Houten, or whatever his name is, Van Hollen. Then he wants to now illegally, by the laws of America, he wants to go in and kidnap these two poor illegal criminal aliens from their home and bring them back to America where they'd be illegal anyway. These are Legos, by the way. They work on the Lego thing and we do them with the fire truck and everything. Do you see how insane this is? Here's more. He's going. He wants to go to the jail. Maybe we can just throw him in there. It would make more sense than anything he's throwing at us.
Requested this meeting with President Bukele while he's in D.C. Is a meeting set? Have you heard back?
Kate, it's good to be with you. I did request it. I've not heard back from the president of El Salvador. And as I said in that letter, if I don't hear from him and Ábrego García is not quickly returned, I do intend to go to El Salvador this week to show solidarity with his family. As you indicated, the Trump administration itself has admitted that he was abducted and sent to this prison in error, and he should get his due process.
Okay, I think we've illustrated the point about this guy, but let me try this. Kate over on CNN, Kate Boland, I think that's her name. Your follow-up question should have been, sir, if he is illegal and you bring him back into America where no one is debating whether he is legal or illegal, putting aside all of the gang member thing, what is it that you want us to do with him? He's illegal. We literally have senators that are going to other countries to bring illegals back in. Do you realize how absolutely insane that is? Here's Stephen Miller. He does it without little toys, and it's pretty solid.
Senator Van Hollen seems to be under the very confused impression that this MS-13 terrorist is his constituent. He is President Bukele's constituent. He is President Bukele's citizen. He is President Bukele's resident. He is not a Maryland man. He is not a Maryland anything. He is an illegal alien from El Salvador with a deportation order from the United States. He is not legally even allowed to be in our country. Under the due process that these Democrats so venerate for illegal invaders, it is legally impermissible for him to have one more minute in this country. So we honored the law and obeyed the law by getting him out of this country. And if the entire Democrat Party was to work itself into a state of emotional hysteria to demand the return of illegal gang members and terrorists to our shores, then that 21% will soon be 15, and then it'll be 11, and then all they'll have left is the support of actual confirmed MS-13 members, and that will be the entire base of the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, that's just right. I'd like to illustrate the point a little further with another toy, because what we just did there was that an illegal guy is being sent to El Salvador. Now, let's pretend Soundwave here. This is my original Soundwave. Got him for my 8th birthday, I think around 1984 or so. Soundwave the Decepticon. Unfortunately, his head has broken off. We got to get that glued back on. But let's say Soundwave was an American citizen who lived in Maryland, right? And he's living with Rumble and Laserbeak and Starscream and Shockwave and everybody. And they're legal citizens, you know, and they're just doing their thing, okay? They're always plotting, but they're doing their thing and it's just fine. Now, if then Donald Trump, mean Donald Trump, and his cadre of ICE officials grabbed legal citizen Soundwave and brought him to El Salvador, then the senator from Maryland might have a case. We want to bring Soundwave back because he's one of our citizens. But the difference between what I just told you there as it relates to Soundwave and as it relates to this guy is that guy's an illegal El Salvadorian gang member. Let's talk about some Bolivian coffee, 1775.
Imagine winning a prize worth over $100,000 just for drinking coffee. A brand new Cybertruck and $30,000 in cash could be yours, but this is your last week to enter. It ends April 20th. 1775 Coffee is fueling this giveaway, and every dollar you spend equals an entry. No hoops, no selling your data to some tech giant, just small batch coffee that proudly supports free speech. It's the official coffee of free thinkers, hard workers, and the Rumble crowd that doesn't cave to the narrative. If Rumble is the platform for uncensored truth, 1775 is the coffee that keeps it all moving. Go to 1775coffee.com and use code Rubin to save 15% and enter the giveaway before it ends.
So when do the Democrats go too far? And why is it that no Democrat can ever say to another Democrat, you're a moron, stop doing that? Well, it's partly because modern Democrats, progressives, they believe that the world should just be as they see it, as they wish it to be, not that it is how it is, and then you can maybe move some things on the side. Here is noted lunatic AOC demanding that El Salvadorian President Bukele return his citizen back to America where he was illegal. It never ends with these morons.
And we also demand the return of Kilmar Ábrego García in El Salvador. And we tell President Bukele, if we believe in democracy, he must be returned. It is criminal that he is being held abroad. And we demand these things because we do have power in this moment. All of us do. Everyday people do.
Do these people know what they're applauding for? Do they have any idea? They are applauding to bring an El Salvadorian criminal back into the United States. The meme makers online put a video up, and we can't use the audio because it could be a copyright, but look at this, look at this. These are Democrats with their El Salvadorian friends. I'll sing for you. Near, far, wherever you are, I believe. Christy, can you handle this for me? Christy's a little better at this sort of thing.
You are safe in my heart, and my heart will go on and on.
Wow, damn, girl. Woo! Somebody's getting extra guacamole today. Here's Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, and he's very concerned about this whole situation and thinks that maybe we should, can't even believe this. They want to charge the ICE people who have deported the illegal alien from El Salvador. They want to charge them with kidnapping.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think the attorney generals play a really important role right now. I think it's only a matter of time before one of them figures out how to file state kidnapping charges against those that are abducting people who are in this country legally and sending them to this new concentration camp that Donald Trump laughs about having created in El Salvador. Attorney generals are going to play a critically important role in these days ahead fighting this fascist moment in American history.
Martin O'Malley, former commissioner of the Social Security Administration, former Maryland governor. Sir, thank you very much.
Okay, you pencil-necked lesbo, let me explain how to do journalism. He just said that the guy was here legally. He's here illegally. He's an illegal immigrant from El Salvador who is a criminal in a gang. So he lied. You know he lied. Why did you throw the commercial instead of saying, actually, he's illegal, unless you're all in on it? That's why you get $25 million to do a show once a week. Once a week, that woman gets $25 million to sit there, because that's apparently how much her soul cost. Unbelievable. But we've got more from the televised mental institution known as MSNBC 13. Here they are. Here's Nicole Wallace claiming that Don Jr. and Bukele are having some sort of affair.
The whole thing is sort of Alice in Wonderland at the bottom,
Right.
up looking down and down. Like, the only reason he's there is because Trump sent him there. And the only reason Trump sent him there is because I think he's in a bromance with his son, Don Jr. And I think Marco Rubio went and visited him, and they've got a ton of social media content that intersects, overlaps, and boosts each other. The idea that he'd even have to ask him, I mean, this is someone who, if Trump wanted it done, it would have been done already.
We are being perceived around the world as all of a sudden the image of strength is crumbling into the world audience. We are now unreliable, incompetent, and have no rule of law. I mean, really, that is not strength.
Yes, yes. We were really thought of as reliable and competent under Joe Biden. I mean, it's an absolute clown show with these people. And, you know, like, this is a kind of dark thing here, but like, these are the type of women that are, you know, they always say that a conservative is just a liberal mugged by reality. Those are the type of women that one day will be out walking the streets, and because of the policies they voted in and the propaganda that they've pushed, they'll get mugged or raped or something else. And then you know what? They'll show up 3 days later with a black eye and a busted lip and say, boy, you know, I've decided I'm a Trump supporter. Like, you people are just absolutely unbearable. And if you want to see, now, okay, so I just showed you, that's just pure drivel propaganda. Here's Nayib Bukele himself. He is the president of El Salvador, the president of a country that had the highest crime and murder, literally the highest murder rate in the entire world about a decade ago. It is now basically the safest country in the Western world. They've destroyed the gangs. Their economy is flourishing. They're doing it right. And here he is laying out something that is sort of like I showed you with Trump before, like the simple thing. We didn't need a bipartisan bill. We needed a president. Listen to Bukele on crime.
What about the human right of a woman not to be raped? I mean, what about the human right of kids to, you know, to play or to be free or to, you know, go to the park? And what about the human right to live or the human right to walk in the street? Right, but no, they were worried about the human rights of the killers.
Yep, and that's exactly what I keep telling you. It's the shell game. They're always looking. Oh my God, an illegal immigrant El Salvadorian gang member. We better worry about him, not the girl that got killed, the one who got raped, the fentanyl on our streets, or anything else. It is absolutely extraordinary, although not quite as extraordinary as Donald Trump saying MAGA in Spanish.
Mr. President, I'd like to teach you how to say, let's make America great again in Spanish. So, vamos a hacer América grande otra vez.
America grande otra vez.
We just don't deserve the guy. We don't deserve the guy. So one of the crazy people, these leftist lunatic activists that overtook our government, that was trying to put Donald Trump in jail for 2 years, is New York's Letitia James. You remember Letitia. She was trying to destroy all Donald Trump's businesses, make sure that he was in jail, they wanted to get him off the ballot, all of the stuff. We've got a couple tweets from Letitia. These are older tweets, and then you'll see why we're talking about her again. Here's Letitia. She said, Donald Trump lied about his net worth on his statements of financial condition to get loans for much better terms than he should have. Now, let's pause for a second, because you remember that one, right? That was the big thing they were trying to get him on, that he made up while he was trying to get a business loan. You can come back to me for a sec. He was trying to get a business loan, and he made up the numbers. Now, that's not how it works, okay? You can't, when you're trying to get a loan, anyone that's ever bought a house, you're trying to get a mortgage, they ask you your income. Now, you can write whatever fucking number you want, but that doesn't mean the bank is going to be like, well, my God, this guy says he makes $200 million a year. Give him unlimited credit. I would like to do that. We Googled right before the start of the show, the most expensive house right now for sale in Miami. Look at that thing, 135 mil. It's kind of modern. It's a little mid-century modern. I like the angular pool. I like clean lines. I know some people like a little more of a Mediterranean old school style, but I could live in that glass-filled $135 million house. Now, if I asked my real estate agent to get me or my banker to get me the docs, and I was just like, you know, I'm worth $250 million. Can I get the loan on that? And the bank was like, well, you sure can, sir. That would be a fault of the bank. So no, this is not how it works. And they literally tried to put Donald Trump in jail for that. Let's throw to a couple other of her tweets. Again, you'll see why. Here she is on Valentine's Day of last year. Roses are red, violets are blue. No one's above the law. Even you think the rules don't apply to you. Happy Valentine's Day, going after Trump. And then, of course, she wrote again, no one is above the law. Here's a little bit more of some of the things that she's been up to for the last year or two. And again, you will see why we are talking about her in just a moment, because irony, or let's say comeuppance, is a beautiful thing. Take a look.
This case has never been about politics or personal vendetta or about name calling.
This illegitimate president who sits in the White House. That president, because he's not my president, he's an illegitimate president. His days are numbered. His days are numbered.
This case has never been about politics or personal vendetta or about name calling.
We've got to get ready to mobilize, and we've got to get ready to agitate and irritate until victory is won, but more importantly, until Trump is defeated.
This case has never been about politics or personal vendetta or about name calling.
Bring him down!
Oh, interesting, lady. You think Donald Trump's his days are limited? His numbers are limited? Yeah, well, he's got about 300 more of them, so you got that wrong. You'll see almost why we're getting there. Here's just a bit more on her about the rule of law.
That simple but fundamental pillar of our democracy, that the rule of law applies to all of us, equally, fairly, and justly.
Now you ready for this, guys? The rule of law applies to all of us. Remember a moment ago when she claimed that Donald Trump inflated his value so that he could get a mortgage that he didn't deserve, right? That's I have $200 million. Give me that $135 million house. Well, now Letitia James done the same thing.
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type and more favorable loan.
So do you get what this woman did? She did exactly what she accused Donald Trump of. She did exactly what she was trying to throw Donald Trump in prison for, allegedly. And yeah, we've got a little bit more info on that. This is from Tired of Being Politically Correct on the Twitter machine. This document shows Letitia James had a $625,000 mortgage in 2017 on a home that had a tax-assessed value of around $450,000. Is this not exactly what she's accusing Trump of doing? Why would you need a mortgage larger than the value of the house? Well, I'm gonna have to think about that. But the Democrats, this is what they've got. It's lunacy, it's watching out for criminals, it's being the criminals yourself. And what does that leave you with as the Bill Maher's get the hell out of the party, as the Whoopi Goldberg, her brain kicks in somehow occasionally? What does it leave you with? Well, it leaves you with this, according to Western Lensman on Twitter. Democrat frontrunners, the top 4 contenders for the Democrat 2028 presidential nomination per a poll released today by Survey USA.
You've got Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, look at that collection. Like, there is not, these people should, if you took 4 people that should be the furthest possible away from the office of the presidency. Let's try to do this. Okay, so Pete probably would be the least dangerous. He's got a helmet on, so that's probably good. He's wearing a helmet there, so he'd probably be, he's like the least evil out of them, right? So now Gavin, obviously, I think he's like the most downright evil. I would say AOC is the second most evil, and Kamala at this point is just irrelevant and drunk. So I'd say, yeah, if you're doing this in order of who should get it, if it's going to be one of these 4, you go helmet wearing Pete, you go drunk Kamala, you go fake accent AOC, and you go devil worshipping lizard man Gavin Newsom. Speaking of Gavin Newsom, he's destroying California, and I know you know it, but it's nice to see that people are actually waking up to it. In 2022, he signed a law that gave illegals, not legals, illegals health care in California. That meant if you were a legal citizen, they would take your money and give it to people who shouldn't be in this country in the first place. That's what they were doing in 2022. And then hot damn, this week, California ran out of money.
California is poised to be, if this proposal is supported, the first state in the country to achieve universal access to health coverage. So what does that mean? It means full scope Medi-Cal, including long-term care, IHSS, behavioral health to all low-income Californians, regardless of immigration status, regardless of their age, regardless of their immigration status. Full implementation will initiate January 2024.
Gavin Newsom says the state short on funds for its Medicaid program known as Medi-Cal. The state expanded the program to cover undocumented immigrants. The governor asked lawmakers to approve another $2.8 billion in loans on top of a $3.4 billion loan issued last week. So California now making up a $6.2 billion shortfall in Medi-Cal funds. The money meant to keep the program properly funded through June.
The realities are the realities. You have to balance budgets. We balance our budget. Revenue is holding up. I don't see anything significant along the lines of what some have asserted. But I do see the need to make adjustments and changes broadly in the Medicaid system.
That man is evil. See, the snake, the lizard, it's trying to get out of him. It's trying to burst out of him. That's why he's always doing this. That's why he's always got the motions. Because there's literally a reptile inside of him that is trying to burst forth out of the humanoid. Oh, I don't see any legitimacy to anything they're saying. The program that you put in 3 years ago is now $6.5 billion in debt because you decided to steal from your taxpayers. And by the way, 1 million of your taxpayers fled your state over the last 3 years, and they've brought their businesses and their success and their honoring of citizenship and pursuit of the American dream. They brought it here to Florida. They brought it to Tennessee. They brought it to Texas and a couple other places. So you forced your taxpayers out. You got rid of Elon Musk and his businesses. He moved them all to Texas, and you applauded it, you moron. And now you're running a $6.5 billion deficit on a program to give illegals health care. And, well, I haven't seen any evidence that that's a problem. But don't worry, Democrats, if not Gavin Newsom, you've got AOC 2028.
It's Donald Trump. Well, what happens the next 4 years from now when a Democrat is in office? What happens when President Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez decides to use these same powers that the president has now expanded by simply just pretending not to pay attention to the rulings of the court?
It is true that when standards are eroded, they tend to seldom come back and be reinstated. Jennifer.
Okay, Jake. All right. First off, I don't know who that guy is. The fact, yes, when President AOC. Now, would it be a problem if President AOC started doing illegal things? It would be. Would it be a problem if President AOC was kicking out illegal El Salvadorian criminal gang members and sending them back to El Salvador? No, that wouldn't be a problem. That would be a good thing. But she ain't going to do that. And then Jake, of course, just playing along as if he doesn't know the facts or anything else. I've enjoyed today's program. Hope you did too. By the way, guys, our mini documentary
about the trip that we took in London about a month and a half ago to Jordan Peterson's ARC conference, the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. I also did my Oxford Union debate, which if you haven't seen is up on all channels right now. We did win the debate on free speech, which was quite nice. Our mini doc is coming out on Saturday. A whole bunch of you purchased our some merch yesterday over at daverubin.store. Appreciate that. And if you'd like to join us for the post-game show, rubinreport.locals.com in about 30 seconds. If not, we'll see you tomorrow.
And third of all, and most important, no matter how you are, you never, ever, ever admit defeat. You always claim victory. Always.
You know, that sounds like the U.S. foreign policy the past quarter century.
Well, unlike that, this actually works. And I won a lot, Tony. I won a lot, and even when they said I didn't, I still turned it into a win, and that was the difference.
So, how'd you come by these set of rules?
Well, I have an instinct, Tony. I have a killer instinct. I always have. Listen, Tony, you have to have a natural ability. I'm a big believer in natural ability, and a lot of that is genetics. You have to be born with it, you know, and some people aren't, and some people are, and that's the difference. You have to have it.